Fable squad, and welcome to a new once-off series called Let's Be Frank. Right, if anybody, you guys all know, right? Frank Warner is consistently in my comments. He writes all that amazing poetry. He's literally a wordsmith, man. And I promised him that I would do a series specifically for him because we've got like minds. We chat often, we email each other stuff. Yeah, man, so he sent me a list of songs that he would like me to react to for him. This has been so long in the pipeline. It goes months back. I haven't had the time to actually do it. And now we're dropping the entire series. Some of these songs might not be for you, but hey, man, the man is, if you know Frank Warner, man, he's a deep thinker. I know that all of these songs are going to be songs with meaning, songs that people can relate to. So yeah, get on the Let's Be Frank journey, right? There's just 9 of them, 9 songs that we'll be doing. This is the first one, but they're probably all going to drop at the same time. So I might be talking to you from the future over here. Right, guys, let's get started, man. Gabriel, Biko. Now, all of these songs that he's given me, I've never heard them before. I've never seen them before. Biko. Is this Steve Biko? Is this Steve Biko from South Africa? I've never heard that name before other than South Africa. He was an activist. Steve Biko was an activist in South Africa. He was during the Apartheid era.
This song was written for a very brave man. A man who preached non-violence in a state which has racism enshrined in
it's Steve Biko. Okay.
Constitution.
Okay.
A man who was imprisoned, tortured, and killed in a jail in South Africa.
He fucking was. For those of you who don't know who Steve Biko was, he was an activist in South Africa. He was fighting the apartheid government at the time, who were very, very brutal with black people. There was segregation. It was just an absolutely shocking time. And there were many like him, Steve Biko, Nelson Mandela, everybody. So a lot of people don't really know Steve Biko. A lot of people don't really know Oliver Tambo, Hector Peterson, anybody like out there in the world, unless you're South African. The majority of the world will know who Nelson Mandela is. These are the guys that fought alongside him.
This is for Stephen Biko.
I did watch this movie though. I did watch this Biko movie.
September 77, Port Elizabeth, weather fine. It was business as usual.
Yeah, he did die in Port Elizabeth, and I think it was that time at 1977 where, if I'm not mistaken, he was beaten to death and then driven from Port Elizabeth all that distance. Now, Port Elizabeth is pretty far, man. He was driven all that distance from Port Elizabeth. We're talking about maybe 1,000 something, 1,000. I mean, I stand corrected, 1,400, 1,500 k's, all the way to Pretoria, right? And he was just beaten to death, thrown in the back of like a van, right? There's no bed or anything, just a steel backing on the van, thrown into a van, bumpy roads. And then afterwards, when he actually got to Pretoria, they threw him in a dirty cell on the floor, cold floor, whatever else, where he eventually died from his injuries. And then they just put it down to, they had a thing inside. Okay, wait, let's just listen, wait.
In police room 619. Oh, Biko, Biko, because Biko. Oh, Biko, Biko, because Biko. Yilimancha, the man is dead. The man is dead.
He's actually making that sound with his chest over there. Yeah, exactly. See, my story checks out. But that's because we learned this at school when we were in South Africa, man. You obviously learned all of this at school. They actually had a saying in South Africa that the apartheid government, man, they had when they went to prison, that he fell off the 13th floor. They used to put it in a lot of reports where they fell off the 13th floor, so they'd actually kill somebody, like in thing, and then put it down to like, oh no, he fell off the 13th floor. If you had to go to that actual prison cell and see what the 13th floor windows look like, they're this thin. Like nobody can literally get through them, and no one can fall from the 13th floor. But that was the excuse they used, fell from the 13th floor. They were just fucking tyrants at the time. Fucking tyrants.
When I try to sleep at night, I can only dream in red.
Well, when I try to sleep at night, I can only dream in red, man, because that's what actually happened in South Africa at the time. There was just bloodshed on the daily, man.
The outside world is black and white with only one color dead.
Oh, the outside world is black and white, but there's only one color dead, man. That was the black people, man. See what I'm saying? I love the fact that they actually, I don't know who Peter Gabriel is. Like I told you, man, I lived in a rap bubble my entire life. I love the fact that there were people that actually stood up for this movement. They stood up for the change in government in South Africa, you know what I mean? And there were a lot of brave people, you know what I mean? And there were a lot of white artists that actually came to the party. U2 was one of them. Bono from U2 was huge into South Africa, and trying to get awareness to South Africa at the time. It was unbelievable.
Oh, Biko,
Yeah, check it out. My story checks out, people. Check it out. Pretoria, 12 September 1977. That's when he died. Apparent head injuries. It was bullshit. They beat him to death. That's a really, really beautiful song, man, in terms of, an in-memory song. It's actually beautiful, man. Again, I told you this is Frank, man. I told you. I know Frank likes to give me stuff that's going to provoke I knew what the series was going to be about, but I didn't think this was going to be the first one he gave me. Good on you, Frank. Good on you, man.
You can blow out a candle, but you can't blow out a fire.
Can't blow out a fire. You can blow out a candle, because a candle can wither in the wind, but you can't blow out a fire, man. Steve Biko was a fire. Oliver Tambo was a fire. Nelson Mandela was the biggest of them all in terms of fire, and what he did for South Africa. It was actually crazy. You know what I mean?
Once the flame begins to catch, the wind will blow it higher. Oh, Biko, Biko, because Biko. Oh, Biko, Biko, because Biko.
Heavily respected character in South Africa. Heavily respected, man. You know what I mean? Particularly amongst the black population for what he did for them. You know what I mean? When he brought them out, he brought them into freedom. You know what I mean? And he deserves that. He deserves that recognition. And actually, a lot of white people respect that as well. We've moved along in times. I think there's a lot of people that still try to keep that racism alive in South Africa, but it is dwindling, which I'm very happy to say. You will feel tensions and that kind of vibe, and it's purely because of like the socio-economic like difference. Like there's the high class and the poor. There's a huge gap between even the middle class and the poor. Like there's a huge gap. You know what I mean? And there's still quite a lot of inequality with regards to that type of vibe, but not in the way it was back then, not in the apartheid. There's just not enough work. It doesn't actually help that we have a government. Actually, now it's a little bit better under Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, Cyril Ramaphosa is unbelievable in terms of like respected presidents. He's probably second to Nelson Mandela. You know what I mean? In terms of respected presidents. So he's got a tough job because the person who came before him literally looted the country for 10 years. You know what I mean? Where they could have actually given that to the people who needed it, to the poor, but they didn't. You know what I mean? The previous president just came in here with an Indian family and literally looted the fuck out of this place. And this is why we're now sitting in a situation we are in now. But Cyril Ramaphosa is a gem of a president. We really needed somebody like him. And I just hope he can clean out all the cobwebs from government and clean out all the bad people from cabinet, you know what I mean, from the previous administration, so that he can actually just focus on moving this country forward for a change.
And the eyes of the world are watching now.
And also, for those of you who don't actually know, man, you have no idea the heart that South Africans have, man. Black and white, you don't understand. But the heart and the passion. I mean, you could come to South Africa and I could take you to places I could take you to Soweto, Vilakazi Street, absolutely awesome. They've got restaurants over there. It's really a tourist haven. Well, maybe not right now because of COVID, but if you actually do come to here and whatever else, the diversity, the beauty, that kind of thing, you don't see that. You don't feel the racism in the streets like you used to back in the day. You know what I mean? You do get isolated cases of racism every here and there and all around and whatever else, but those get sort of sorted out and quashed and whatever else, and those people get brought out into the lights and stuff like that. But if you actually see the diversity, if you come to, let's say, Neighbor Goods Market in town, man, and you just watch like traditional African dancing. It doesn't have to be the leopard skin stuff, man. Just African people have just got heart. They've just got vibe. You know what I mean? Specifically South Africans, man. They've just got so much heart, so much vibe, so much emotion. They will have a piece of bread and a piece of onion, man, and they will share it with you. Was that Denzel Washington? I don't even remember. I mean, I watched this movie so long ago. This song wasn't part of that movie. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. And make no mistake, man, that's what you saw right here, man. What you saw right here, that was a scary fucking sight, man, back in the day. That was a scary sight because the apartheid government, the apartheid regime, the military, the police were fucking relentless. They were ruthless fucking people. And to go and protest to them, and they had a very, very, very powerful military that had no heart. You know what I mean? And a lot of people died brutally because of this. This. So just the bravery it took to actually stand up to these guys was something absolutely incredible. Now, these are obviously stories that I was told because when South Africa was liberated in '94, when the apartheid finally fell, I was 8 years old. I was 9 years old. I was 9 years old at the time. So obviously, like, you get very sheltered from this environment when you're 9 years old. You kind of just don't understand it. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. And then the one thing that did bring us together, because you could feel that there was like a disconnect between the two populations. But the one thing that did bring South Africa together was the 1995 World Cup that we won. That was huge. That was a huge moment for South Africa. Sorry, I've turned this into like a history lesson, but that was a massive, massive moment for South Africa where it brought black and white together.
Jail in South Africa. For all those still being tortured.
Good on you, Peter Gabriel, man. Good on you.
For all prisoners of conscience. For Steve Biko.
The one thing I can always say that we are, from just a humanity perspective, we've got a lot of issues in South Africa that yes, we need to resolve, which comes from a lot of, from socioeconomic situations where, there's poverty and whatever else. So there is a high crime rate and whatever else. You know what I mean? But the one thing that I can commend, I can even commend, the ANC at the moment is like, I think their name has been tarnished and whatever else, but the ANC was a political group that actually fought for South Africa. They're actually who liberated South Africa, along with many others. But to actually bring a country that was in so much tension, you know what I mean, that it could have, we were literally on the brink, man. We were on the brink of an all-out civil war. You know what I mean? And to actually bring that and actually to quell the situation and move forward without having turned the tables, you know what I mean? And having gone against the white people, you know what I mean? Is something that you've got to commend. Like, it's just the most unbelievable, like, humanitarian thing like possible. The fact that they were like, because anybody would want to seek revenge. Anybody would want to just say, no, nah, it's our time. You know what I mean? You tortured us, we fucking torturing you. You know what I mean? And they didn't. You know what I mean? We actually moved forward, and that was all thanks to Nelson Mandela and the message and the ideals that he brought into the country, where he says, if you're white or black, it makes no difference. Never again in South Africa will a portion of the population ever be oppressed again. We don't care. It's equality. You know what I mean? High praise for that man, and that's why he's revered the way he is around the world today. These were common scenes before 94. Very, very common scenes. Yo. Okay, Frank. You started off with a hectic one. Sorry, guys. I know this was like a bit of a history lesson over here. I don't even know how long this video is. But yeah, this was actually awesome. I love the fact that you actually gave me this, something a bit different. And I could actually use my knowledge of what I learned in South Africa. I hope the majority of what I said was correct, but I'm pretty sure it was. I'd say 98%, 99%. Close to 100% of what I've said was correct. I also love watching documentaries about this. I love going back and just reading about our history, and we've got quite an unbelievable history in this country. But yeah, man, for all the things that we have in South Africa, for all the mishaps, for all the downs, for all the elements that make us South Africans irate with this country, man. I personally don't believe that I could live anywhere else in the world. It is one of the most beautiful countries in terms of diversity, in terms of people, in terms of landscape, in terms of everything. It's one of the most beautiful. I will forever stand strong with this country for as long as I can, essentially. I just hope this country will never, ever, ever go to a point where you actually have to leave this country, because I'd be absolutely gutted. I was born in South Africa. The rest of my family was born overseas, was born in Portugal. I was born and bred in South Africa, so was my wife. Man, SA is home, man. I can go anywhere else in the world, but South Africa's home to me. I love you all, man. Please stay safe. Please stay peaceful. Frank, this was awesome. Love you, man. Peace.